So this from the first article, the central message that I received was that if it doesn't suck, then it's not worth doing. Of course, that does broaden out um, the spectrum a bit. So allow me to narrow it down or specify, I should say. So what I gathered from this first article was can almost be summed up in this story. One person was being trained by a Navy SEAL, or was working out with, and the Navy SEAL said, "Do as many do as many pull-ups as you can." And the person did 8 and struggling, and then dropped. And then the Navy SEAL said, "Okay, do it again, as many as you can do." And so she did it again and did 6. Then the Navy SEAL said, "Do it again," and she did 3. And then the Navy SEAL said, "Okay, you are not leaving here until you do 100 more." And that seems impossible. But after doing it one at a time, and well, like doing one, dropping, then it was so much easier to handle, because we mentally we hit a cap at about 40% of what we're actually capable of doing, but our mind tells our body that we can't do anymore, which is a real, truly a mind over matter story. And one quote from the I'm paraphrasing this quote. One quote from this article was that true confidence is given when you true confidence is given when you um, when you push through things that suck, is basically what that article was what that was stating. And it's so true, because when you push through things that seem horrible at the time, um, your comfort level gets moved, because it gets moved higher, because someone who could only do one pull up a week ago, they kept pushing through, and then they kept pushing through a week, trying to do one, making sure they added one every day. Then suddenly they can do 7 with no problem. So that was the main piece I got from that article. From the other article, it was a really interesting story, because you there's it really um, just kind of like the difference in between the two sons. So let me give you the story. So one father asks his eldest son, or sorry, his eldest son goes to his father and says, like, "Can I have the farm when I'm older?" The father then says, "Okay, go out and ask Miss some next door neighbor, and see if she has any cows for sale." He went, came back, and said, she has 6 cows for sale. And then he said, "Thank you." And he turned to his littlest son and said, his youngest son, and said, "All right, go see and ask if our next door neighbor has any cows to sell." And he went and came back, said, "She has 6 cows to sell. She has she has 6 cows to sell, both all of them for $2,000. She has some better ones coming in for a week. If you're in a rush, she can get them over here by tomorrow." And then the father turned to the eldest son and said, "That is why your youngest son is getting the farm." And at first, I thought, well, at first, when I was reading, I was like, okay, well, that's a good description. But then as I got down to the youngest one's description, at first I was confused, because I didn't see at first I didn't see the difference, and then I kept thinking about it and thinking about it, and it was the difference was the detail that the youngest son put into, and making sure that when he did the job, he did it 110%, and made sure that the father knew everything he needed to know about. It wasn't just like, does she have any cows for sale? It's, does she have any cows for sale? How much does it cost? are there a better is there a better option? Am I in a rush? It was so incredible just to just that kind of awakening in the details that it took to actually, because although they seemed like little things at the time, it made just she has 6 cows to having an entire list of things that made it so much more. Um, she had an entire list. He had an entire list of things that made it so much more easy to um, navigate and decide on a um, decide on it. So something that would be challenging is making sure whenever I'm given a task, to make sure uh, um, so from the first article, if I'm given a task, um, you know, although it may suck, push through it and get past it, because I'm only going 40%. Because mentally, I have to keep thinking I'm only going 40%. On the other hand, it's or sorry, for the other article, something I would have to constantly think is, am I doing enough? Am I getting through the details? Am I making sure the details um, are there are enough details for this person to make a decision? Um, and actually those are two things that I would find challenging, but I would want to apply it to my life. So there we go, and then on to the next week.